Foreign tourists wanting to experience the Kazakhstan's mountains usually arrive in Almaty, the city where the international air routes and logistics channels cross and where there is an abundance of entertainment industry outlets and hotels. Dozens of travel agencies specializing in weekend tours operate in the city, and there is no need to go far from the southern capital to reach the mountains, as they begin on its outskirts. About 1.8 million people live in Almaty. Outside the city, a huge city agglomeration with another 3 million people population stretches out for hundreds of kilometers in both directions along the southern slopes of the Transilli Alatau ridge. The owls and towns are located along the mountain rivers flowing down from the mountains and use the glacial water for irrigation and household water supply. Today, the Outdoor KZ Permanent TV expedition will go to the small town of Talga, from where we will embark on a journey across the Transilli Alatau system. Nikolai Knyaziev, a skilled guide and wild nature photographer, will head the expedition group, which, as always, will include our operators Maxim Levitin and Baljan Baltasheva. Geographers attribute the Transilli Alatau mountain system to the northern Tian Shan. The ridge's largest spot is located on the territory of Kazakhstan. Its southern section partially belongs to Kyrgyzstan and its eastern spurs creep into China. The Talga mountain not close to the Talga peak constitutes the highest part of the Transilli Alatau. Altogether, the ridge includes 440 glaciers with a total area of 171 square kilometers. About 150 years ago, the cycle of glacier area reduction has begun across the Central Asia. In the course of the last decades, this process has accelerated significantly. Since the late 50s of the last century, the glaciation area in the Alatau Mountains has reduced by 41%. Professor Daniel Farinotti from the Swiss Federal Institute for Forest, Snow and Landscape Research, who headed an international glacier research program, in the final program's report underscored the accelerating thawing of Tian Shan glaciers due to climate change and increased summer temperatures. According to the scientist, in the second half of the 21st century, the loss of glaciers in the Tian Shan mountain chain of Central Asia may result in the shortage of drinking water in parts of China, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan dependent on thawed glacial water. Almaty residents are used to mountains and underappreciate the absolutely untouched wild nature spots located in the 30 kilometers radius from the city inhabited by large wild animals. Many countries can only dream of such valuable tourist resources. The Talga River has three tributaries, right, left and middle Talga rivers. In 1931, they set up one of the oldest reserves of Kazakhstan here. In close proximity to the large Almaty megalopolis, they managed to preserve 70,000 hectares of virgin mountain ecosystems. The heights from 1200 up to 1500 meters ASL are occupied by mountain steppes and mixed deciduous woods. After that, the coniferous belt goes up to 2800 meters. Then follows the sub-alpine belt that goes up to 3000 meters, followed by alpine meadows for another 300 meters of height. After them all, the kingdom of rocks and eternal snow known as the Nival Glacial Belt begins. If desired, one can go through all Transilli Alatau altitudinal belts in one day, but the Outdoor KZ team is in no hurry. We will spend 1 or 2 days in each belt to learn more about their landscapes, animals and plants. Inspector Timofey Panin has been working in the Almaty Reserve for over 20 years. Wild nature might not be willing to disclose its secrets to strangers, but is more than open before those who have devoted all their lives to it.
Мы давно знаем друг друга, уже лет 30. Да?
We've known each other for a long time, 30 years or so probably. I know that already a child you loved these mountains, and you have been working here for 20 years. What changes have you seen in the Transilien Mountains during these 30-40 years? The temperature is changing, glaciers are stepping back, and rivers are becoming larger, which is most noticeable during summer. What about animals? Any changes? The fauna hasn't changed practically. The morel population has grown while there are fewer roe deer and mountain goats. We are not academicians and don't understand why it's happening. We're just observing. Bear population has increased also. At present, the state is paying a lot of attention to the issue of developing tourism. Had anything changed in the tourism sector during the last 30-40 years? Tourism has always been here, although today it's so different. People want comfort and paved roads. It's hard to do it here. Previously we would hike with heavy backpacks. Of course, we're not against tourism, but reserves should remain reserves after all. Reserves work to preserve animals, right? In the mountains, the fall comes into the own much earlier than in the plains. In September, it often snows in the coniferous forest belt. All hoofed animals have their mating season in the fall, but in different times. Roe deer, for example, in August, morels in September, and mountain goats in November. All species also have their typical habitats, also known as biotopes. Roe deer prefer lower mountainous belts, while morels live in the coniferous forest zone. Mountain goats enjoy the alpine meadows and rocky spots where they can get away from predators. In different seasons, animals migrate vertically, moving up and down the slopes. Roe deer live in the steppe, in the valleys of inundated rivers and in mountain coniferous forests, and are an extremely flexible hunting species. The experience of modern hunting proves that under reasonable management, roe deer populations can quickly increase dozens and even hundreds of times. Morel is the largest representative of red deer, with some adults weighing up to 300 kilograms. In the 20th century, morels, as many other large animals, endured a dramatic history, which fortunately turned out not as bad for morels as for some other animals. The valuable velvet antlers had served morels a poor service. In the first half of the last century, as a result of uncontrolled hunting, the number of morels sharply reduced. They remained only in the most remote and hard-to-reach spots and in reserves. Game managers had to artificially move morels to their former habitats. Now morel populations are steadily growing. Red deer have once again become a mass hunting species. Reserves and other protected areas are created not only for the sake of protecting animals from hunters. Their main task is to protect natural habitats from destructive types of anthropogenic activity. Nobody is hunting grasshoppers. Nevertheless, the sago-pedo is listed in the Red Book of the International Union for Conservation of Nature as a species on the verge of extinction due to the destruction of its habitats. On the premises of this very reserve, virtually nothing threatens the largest grasshopper living in our country. The whistling thrush or the bluebird looks like an ordinary thrush, but you can encounter it only in the most remote mountain woods. It's listed in the Red Book of Kazakhstan. Many Oriental people consider Ajir, the way they call it, sacred and have multiple fairy tales and legends associated with it. How amicable a family of waxwing! Each garden keeper knows how useful these birds are protecting apple orchards from the fur seed moth. It's also a desired trophy of any photo hunter. A picture of this beautiful bird with a stylish cob will become an asset of any photo album. Waxwings are really fond of mountain ash, although it's not yet ripe. When the frost strikes and the mountain ash becomes sweet, it's going to be a total feast. Here comes another fashionably handsome with a fine hairdo. It's a hoopoe. They live near human housing and on mountain wood edges. No matter where it lives, it brings huge benefit destroying insects. A kestrel is hiding in tree branches. It seems that the falcon is dozing, although in fact it's scanning the vicinity with its telescopic sight, looking for something tasty and careless. There's quite a suiting delicacy. The creeper looks like a small hare. Creepers are also called haymakers because they prepare little hay piles for winter. While in summer the rough stream of the Alatau river represents an insurmountable obstacle in the fall due to the falling intensity of glacial thawing, tourists can ford the river. This time, the river is still quite rough and Nikolai decides to move up along the right bank, hoping to find a log which will allow us to cross the river. At times, we are forced to fight our way through dense thickets and small rivers going down the slopes. Nikolai, Maxim and Baljan are setting up the camp. Fire is prohibited in the reserve, so we'll use our gas burner for cooking. Mushrooms are a great addition to this scarce marching diet. The soup is ready and we can start enjoying it. After the good walk we had, mushroom soup seems a true delicacy. After dinner, time is great for talking about this or that and about the days long gone.
Я подхожу к тому месту, вот обрывчик был, прямо вот там, как норка была, и вот мне...
So there was a hole near the cliff. We saw a sow there with 2-3 piglets.
А тут подхожу к этому обрыву, она его...
So I come to the cliff and see nothing around. The hole is gone too.
Он где? Я говорю, вот тут.
Suddenly the branches burst out and this sow is charging towards us with its teeth clattering and saliva flying around. God, weren't we quick getting out of the place? For many years, Nikolai Knyazyev had worked as ranger in the reserve and now he works in the Altai landslide office of the Emergency Situations Department. Nikolai has been long fond of photography and has been taking pictures of these mountains for 40 years. One evening is not enough to tell even a small share of these stories.
А ледники прямо вот видно.
Did glaciers start melting during your lifetime? Not during my lifetime, but in the course of the last 30 years. They started collapsing and shrinking. During the last 9 years, the process has accelerated like crazy. Quite large faults are opening up. Glaciers are receding and the huge holes that they had dug when they were approaching are opening up and filling up with water. There's no permanent track along the Alatau, and sometimes to bypass rocky cliffs, one needs to go high up into the mountains. Whereas hoofed animals stick to their typical habitats, bears are all over the place. You can encounter them in the foothills, close to glaciers, and even on top of glaciers. Bears not only are omnivorous, but also capable of surviving in different climatic zones. A unique brown bear subspecies, also called the white-clawed bear, lives in the Tian Shan and is listed in the Red Book of Kazakhstan. Thanks to the long-term protection actions, its population is on the rise. At present, you can meet smoky bears in practically every gorge of the Transili Alatau, even near human settlements. As for the winter dens, Tian Shan bears usually set them up in the alpine belt. In the summer, when wild apples ripen, bears go down to the deciduous forest belt. Tian Shan bears are not as aggressive as their Siberian relatives, and meeting a human usually escape. In the course of many years, no bear attacks on humans have been registered in Kazakhstan. On the contrary, in the Russian Far East, several people become bear victims every year. Bears do not possess good eyesight, but have an excellent smell. In good wind, they can smell humans from a distance of 1 kilometer. Those who have been studying bears based on the famous cartoon Masha and the Bear would be strongly disappointed to learn that old male bears have a really nasty character. They are not only poor fathers and take no part in bringing up their offspring, but are also known for stooping to cannibalism. In Alaska, scientists have been studying bears' food behavior. One of the exceptional cases was a bear on whose food remains they detected the DNA of 4 its own children. Such behavior appears awful to us, but from the point of view of bear ethics, intra-species aggression allows bears to evenly occupy all suitable habitats. To accumulate enough fat for the winter, one bear needs about 700 kilograms of berries, mushrooms and other foods. For this reason, it drives all competitors, including its relatives, away from its territory. The forest border goes at approximately 2,700 meters, the same as the snow line at present. Another route from Almaty to the Talga River goes across the Talga Pass. A gondola line goes from the Shimbulak Alpine Ski Resort to the pass. The border between the Almaty Reserve and the Alatau National Park goes along the river, on the right bank of which there is a popular tourist track. What's good about mountains is that they suit every taste. Some love glaciers, others are happy with hiking in the forest zone. It's one of the basic tracks. We call it the Almaty Circumnavigation. It crosses the Talga Pass to the left Talga and finishes at Big Almaty Lake. You can also go through the transition gorge to the Almaty Alagir Pass and get to the left Talga from there too.
Смотри, вот эта вот трапеция, это пик Талгар, самая высокая точка.
Do you see that trapeze over there? It's the Talga Peak, the highest point around. If we crossed those glaciers there, we would have come out over there. If we went there, we would have ended up at the Bogatyr Glacier and then to the Kozhanevsky Glacier and from there to the Chilik River source. Several rivers flow down from the southern slope of the Transili Alatau. Southern Issyk, southeastern Talga and Jangarik. Merging together, they form the Chilik River. You saw it down below. It starts here. The Chilik is 25 kilometers away. To get there by car, we would have to detour for 350 kilometers. We will follow the left Talga and try to get to the Tolguzak Glacier. On the map, the distances seem really small, but in reality it's much more difficult to cover 25 kilometers of steep slopes on foot than to drive 1,000 kilometers by car. If we're lucky, we will see the mountain goats. If we get really lucky, we might see a snow leopard. We can also encounter a snowcock, a wolf, a fox or a hare. Do you know that there is a legend saying that eating the snowcock's meat makes you healthy, rich, happy and gorgeous? If there is no ular around, they say you can eat a human that had eaten a snowcock previously. I ate snowcock, but I keep it a secret, just in case. I heard that a hunter who kills a snowcock is considered top end. Today I'm also on a hunt, but I have a camera instead of a gun. When it rains in the valley, it snows in the alpine belt. On the northern slopes, the snow may stay till spring, and on the southern ones, it usually melts by noon of the next day. The groundhogs are confused. What to do? Urgently go into hibernation or wait a little bit for the warm days to come back. It's hard to get food from under the snow, and the paws are cold. Never give up, they say. By noon the sun has melted the snow and the groundhog colony got much happier. It looks like the groundhogs have a company. It's their neighbors. Groundhogs and mountain goats are old friends. They have nothing to compete for. On the contrary, they help each other. When they are close, predators' chances of creeping up to them unnoticed are low. It's the lazy after lunch time. Time to relax and catch a few rays. In summer, mountain goats stay in the alpine belt at about 3,500 meters above sea level and go down to the tree line and even below it in winter. Young males up to 3 years old usually stay with females and form separate bachelor groups growing older. Everything changes in late October, roughly 1 month before the mating season. At this time, both males and females of all ages gather in large mixed herds. Unlike bears, mountain goats are very peaceful and the intra-species aggression instinct is absent in them. On the one hand, it helps them to jointly escape from predators, and on the other, overpopulation sometimes leads to further shortage and epizooties. Mountain goats' population density may grow up to a certain limit, but then suddenly drop during just one season due to an infection or parasites. For example, the acarine disease or couture. In nature reserves, snow leopards and wolves play the role of sanitary workers and keep the number of hoofed animals at a proper level. In hunting farms, humans have undertaken this function. The red-listed wrapped alpine soilwort grows only in highlands. Perhaps the serious threat for this rare plant species was caused by its uncontrolled gathering for subsequent use in the so-called Chinese medicine. Chinese healers called Susurre involucrata the king of all herbs, and similarly to ginseng endowed it with magical properties. They believed that the plant had a spirit with which only advanced magicians could come into contact. Here's another well-known medicinal herb, Rhodiola rosea or the golden root. Snowcock hunting, especially photo hunting, is not an easy task. A conventional hunter needs only 1 second to pull the trigger, and a photo hunter needs a lot of time to mount the camera on the tripod and adjust all the settings. Thus, waiting for a good image in an ambush is a regular deal in this line of business. Whose voice is it? It's the ular. This is the snowcock's scream. Take some blueberry. They say it's good for your eyes. And we need excellent eyesight today because it's really hard to detect a snowcock. It's grey in color and blends in with the rocks. Based on this sound, it should be somewhere over there. But the trail was here. It walked here yesterday or maybe the day before yesterday. They call snowcocks mountain turkeys. It's a large bird adapted to severe highland conditions. There are 5 snowcock subspecies, but only 2 of them live on the territory of Kazakhstan, the Himalayan and the Altaian. The Altai snowcock is listed in the Red Book, but you can hunt the Himalaya subspecies differing from the other one by its darker belly. As a rule, the hunting season starts in October. In summer, snowcocks keep to the border of eternal snow and go down to the tree zone only in winter. Very often, you can see snowcocks near mountain goats. Breaking the snow with their hooves, goats open it up and make it easier for the birds to search for food. In turn, the snowcocks help mountain goats with their sharp eyesight, as they are capable of detecting a predator from a very long distance and giving an alarm scream. Such a mutually advantageous coexistence of different species is called symbiosis. Like mountain goats, snowcocks also demonstrate cyclic fluctuations of their populations, the reasons for which are still not absolutely clear. For several years their number may steadily grow, but then suddenly, especially in bad years, its considerable share simply dies off. The tourist trail from the Talga Pass to the Laptalga River stretches for about 15 kilometers and disappears in the boulder heaps generated by the ancient glacial moraine. Due to thawing, glaciers break and tear and become similar to the Swiss cheese. Scientists call the sharp increase in the speed of glacial movement the surge. Quite often, surge causes mudflows and landslides. Earlier, a popular tourist trail crossed the Toguza Glacier. It went to the Chilik riverheads and further on to Lake Issyk-Kul. The highest point of the trail was the Popov Pass at 4,200 meters above sea level. It's the B complexity pass and by sports mountaineering standards is considered an easy one. Nonetheless, unexpected rockfalls make the trail rather dangerous. Skilled tourists usually start their treks early in the morning while stones are still frozen to the soil. As soon as the sun warms them up, they start falling down. In recent years, the glacier has become approximately 1.5 kilometers shorter, grew narrower and thinner. At the glacier's edge, the moraine lake has formed. When such lakes overflow, they can cause mudflows. For this reason, the Emergencies Department constantly monitors their water level and conducts drainage works when needed. At the height of 3,500 meters, insignificant symptoms of the altitude sickness may appear. I have a terrible headache. It just doesn't go away. Lack of oxygen or hypoxia negatively affects all people, but the susceptibility degree is different for everyone. At 4,000 meters, the disagreeable sensations in the majority of people usually go away after a small acclimatization next day. At the heights exceeding 5,000 meters, untrained people can suffer from severe health issues. In the 60s and 80s of the last century, mountaineering was rather popular in the USSR. Hundreds of thousands of young romantics went to the mountains with handmade backpacks and super heavy and bulky sleeping bags, singing Vizbor songs along the way. Today, mass Soviet-type mountaineering is gradually fading away. Romantics are being succeeded by managers. We understand the priceless and refined luxury of the primitive beauty of our mountains and that it should benefit the country's economy. At present, thousands of active tourists from around the world come to the Transili Alatau and are willing to pay for it. Adventure tourism agencies are not twiddling their thumbs. New tourist sites and treks appear in the mountains. The new generation of highly skilled guides are undergoing training. More and more advertisements are appearing in the media. Domestic travel companies are taking part in international exhibitions, and Kazakhstan is gradually turning into a modern tourist mecca. Wild nature is a renewable resource. Under wise management, it can benefit people infinitely long. But we have to be extremely careful in using this gift.